Uh, Professor Raina Saab, I welcome you to this channel relating to the playlist relating to nurturing smart teachers. It is going to be a great contribution by you. We come to part one, and I will start by asking what is the relevance of law of evidence with regard to professional study of law?
If we study the criminal justice system, every teacher should know as to what is the relevance of the law of evidence because of the fact that we have in globally two divided criminal justice systems. One is the adversary, the other is the inquisitorial. In the inquisitorial system, which is basically the French system or the German one, the law of evidence is least adhered to. There's not a separate book on law of evidence, but is a joint book on criminal law as such. In India, because we are following the adversary system of justice, therefore it is necessary to have the law of evidence as a separate subject. But it is separate in the sense of books, but is very important for every crime we commit. And as we go scientifically in advancement, the law of evidence becomes much more important. Suppose in case of cyber crimes and other crimes, the law of evidence assumes much significance. And the courts in India also will definitely go by the law of evidence, and it becomes very integral and very important subject even in the court of law, because we have to go by the system that the proof should be beyond reasonable doubt, whereas in inquisitorial it's only the preponderance of proof, not beyond reasonable doubt. The reasonable doubt is a subjective matter, I'm sorry to say, is a subjective matter of judge rather than the objective. And it is only the law of evidence which makes it objective. And unless we place the evidence which satisfies the judge, which satisfies the society, of course, also, not the person can be criminalized. The latest example in Delhi is that of the Chawla area's case of rape and murder, where no evidence has been found, and even the Supreme Court has categorically stated that if no evidence is there, the person has been acquitted. That's why it's important to know that law of evidence is important, though it seems at the beginning to the students as well as to the new teacher that the subject seems to be difficult to teach, but there are ways and means to teach it, to make it very formal, to make it very interesting. The subject is interesting once you understand the subject as a whole.
Okay. Thank you. Now, what would be your advice to the law teachers about the factors they should keep in mind before they step in front of the class to teach the law of evidence?
The law of evidence is that the teacher should read it thoroughly first himself. I will advise it in that sense. Unless he knows the law of evidence thoroughly himself, he should not approach the class, because it's not teaching by sections. Though the law is given by virtue of provisions, that it is section this, section 8, section 9, and all sections, but it is to be studied in terms of chapters or in terms of certain offenses which have been created. Unless the teacher knows that, for example, unless the teacher knows that it is section 3, 4, 5, and 11 which are to be taught together, not in between the sections, they are a different thing. That means which is the key basically for the whole of evidence. Therefore, once he knows thoroughly himself the law of evidence, he will enjoy the class. It is for him to know the law of evidence first. And he should know the nuances which are placed in the law of evidence, hidden in the words. So interpretation of evidence is very important for a teacher. He should be prepared for that and should know it. Second, he should...
Please continue.
Second, he should make the class lucid and interesting. It becomes sometimes a difficult task for the teacher as well as the students to understand certain things. That's what he should make examples which are very local rather than which are very British area or era,
Yes,
rather than the local ones. If he knows the local and geographical studies which can be applied either to the street or to the that area, the students will immediately understand it rather than they will wave from this place to that place.
Professor Raina, now for a new faculty which is taking up which has been assigned the subject of law of evidence to teach, what would you advise him? How should he sort of pick up the examples to drive home the context, the interpretation of different sections of the Indian Evidence Act? Could you sort of...
That's what
yes.
I said earlier also, sir,
Yes.
that he should know the law of evidence first.
Okay.
For example, if he teaches section 7, 8, and 9 together, which is being taught basically in classes by the teachers, then he should know the criminal law itself rather than evidence.
Okay.
He should know that the criminal
That's
law
very
means
important, yes.
mens rea, isn't it? And the actus reus and other things, preparation, all that. What are essential elements of crime?
Ji.
If he knows it,
Ji.
each essential element of crime is converted to the law of evidence.
Okay.
In section 7, it is preparation. In section 8, it is the conduct. In 9, it is the conduct. So actus reus and mens rea are exhibited in section 7, 8, and 9.
Now, linked to this is what areas are interesting, or in other words, out of the entire Evidence Act, what are the portions which you would say are the basic fundamentals which a student must grasp, and consequently the teacher must harp on that in the law college?
Law of evidence is basically the total law of evidence, but it is not the procedural law which we are actually misplaced here, and we also say to the students it is the procedural law. It is partly adjective, partly procedural. That's why the adjective part of the evidence is very soft, which is absorbable by the student and interesting to teach even by the teacher, which is very tough. For example, if I teach conspiracy in section 10, it's very tough to understand. But if I teach legitimacy, which is a concept, it's very interesting for the students to understand legitimacy, because it gives some just a sort of a fresh air in the class, that it's not evidence we are studying, it's something different we are studying. Similarly, if it is privileged communication, but teacher should know as to what is the privileged communication. It is not the communication itself, it is the privilege. The word privileged has a meaning that it is a very slow, silent, which is possible to hear between the two persons only. That's why the privileged communication is between husband and wife. So it is as good as we conspire, and it is a part of that conspiracy. That is privileged. Rest,
Right.
If I cry in the public, it is not privileged. If I cry to my wife that I have brought this for you, it's not a privileged one. Because it is being heard by the third party, then it becomes not privileged too.
Now, at this stage, right in the beginning of a course on evidence, what sort of books should the faculty read to prepare the faculty himself or herself as a teacher of law of evidence?
So whatever little experience I have at my back, I'll suggest that the course should be taught at the semester 3rd and 4th. If we
Okay.
go by semester wise.
Right.
It should not be taught in 1st and 2nd semester.
Okay.
Nor should be taught in the 5th and 8th semester. But that's the right time when we have taught to the student the criminal law, the procedural law, I mean IPC and CRPC. Then the role of evidence is very important and easy for the student to understand law of evidence.
And,
And
what books the teacher,
I will say,
faculty? Yes.
For Indian students, of course, whether Indian or foreign, we have not taught foreign students except few. But for Indian students, I will suggest the Avatar Singh is the common book which the students use. It's good, it is easy. I'll not say it's not a good book. But the Sarthi is a book which is written in a different way rather than section-wise.
Okay.
It is written in a way, what I suggest is the group-wise. Conspiracy is section 10, it is written in section 10.
Okay.
And if there are other sections, say 122, 123, it is written in that section as a privileged communication. But it is not, those sections are quoted there, but it is not written in the Avatar Singh sense section-wise. So students should know, or the teacher should know how to teach that in the group-wise.
Okay.
Section-wise teaching evidence is haphazard, it's not connected.
Yes. It should be
It should
group-wise.
be group-wise. And group-wise becomes easy to teach and easy to understand for the student also.
And linked to this,
books can be Maxwell, books can be that of, I think, I said in India, Sarthi. We have now many books, but Stephen's book, if somebody has read,
Okay.
is very good.
Right. So that will be useful. And in order to generate an interest in the students, where should the internship be advised by the faculty that during the term break or after the office class hours, where should they go and intern so that they see the practical, clinical approach of law of evidence?
I said, sir, it should be taught at the third semester or fourth semester. And then after fourth semester, or at the end of the fourth semester, he should go for internship.
For internship, right. And what is the relevance and significance of covering case law while teaching law of evidence?
Because I have taught at the Delhi University as well as some other universities for a long period of time. I have a little bit of experience of teaching both ways. Normally teacher throughout India, except of course Delhi University, maybe some other universities, we teach by a theoretical method. We teach section first or the provision first and then analyze that provision and add case to each part of that provision. But in University of Delhi, most of the teachers, I don't say every teacher, most of the teachers teach say a case first.
Okay.
Whatever has happened is case first. For example, the latest case we have, which is very important now, that of Shraddha.
Yes.
If a teacher goes to the class and is a good teacher of evidence, he will not teach any other thing. He will go directly and will teach Shraddha first.
Okay.
So students are alive, the teacher is alive, the facts are open, though they are not yet dissected, modified, and let students come out with the answers. Whatever the student comes with the answers, the teacher should say, no, this one does not come within the purview of evidence.
Okay.
No section will lie. If sections are there within which the answers are framed, then we will say, yes, this section will lie. So we will go to the facts first and provisions later.
Fine.
But if we teach provisions first and say the facts later, sometimes it becomes difficult for analysis to make.
Thank you. We come to the end of part one,
Thank you.
and we will then move to part two.